Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Feel Learns English, the place where English feels human, simple, and real.
Hi, everyone. It's really good to have you with us today. Wherever you are right now, we're happy you're here. How are you feeling at this moment?
Before we start learning anything, let me ask you something simple and real. How was your day today?
Yes, really think about it for a second. Because learning English is not just about grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It's about your day, your mood, your thoughts, and your real life.
Maybe you had a very busy day. Maybe you had a tired day. Or maybe it was a quiet, peaceful day with a cup of tea, coffee, or even a small smile from someone.
For me, honestly, it was one of those days where you plan 10 things, and at the end, you finish only 5.
That sounds very human and very familiar. I think many people listening right now can relate to that.
Exactly. And that's why today's topic is so important, because we talk about plans all the time in daily life.
Yes, we talk about plans, decisions, and future thoughts every single day.
Things like, what will I do tomorrow? What am I going to do next week?
And many English learners ask us this same question again and again.
Yes. What is the difference between will and going to?
If this question is living in your mind right now, you're not alone. Almost every English learner feels confused about this at some point.
They know both forms are about the future, but they don't know when to use which one.
And sometimes they stop speaking completely because they're afraid of choosing the wrong one.
So let's say this clearly right now. Making mistakes here is normal.
Very normal.
Even native speakers don't stop and think about grammar rules every time they speak.
They just feel the situation.
And today, we'll help you feel it too, slowly and clearly.
But before we gently move into the lesson, we have a small request.
If you enjoy learning English in a calm, friendly way,
If this podcast helps you feel more confident and relaxed while speaking,
please like this episode and subscribe to Feel Learns English. It really supports us.
and it helps us continue making real-life English conversations for you.
All right, now let's begin slowly.
Okay, Tanvir, let me ask you something simple.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right now, do you know what you'll eat for dinner tonight?
Good question. Let me think for a second.
Take your time.
Yes, actually, I do. I'm planning to eat pasta tonight.
Planning already?
Yes, I bought all the ingredients in the morning, so the plan already exists in my mind.
Interesting. Now listen carefully to this sentence. I'm going to eat pasta tonight.
That sounds very natural.
Why?
Because the plan was made before this conversation. It's already decided.
Exactly. Now let me change the situation a little.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you didn't plan anything. You didn't buy anything. You're just talking casually.
All right.
And suddenly you say, I think I'll eat something light tonight.
Ah, I see the difference.
Tell me.
The first sentence was a plan made earlier, so we used going to. The second sentence was a decision made in the moment, so we used will.
Perfect. And that is the heart of today's topic.
Going to is for plans that already exist.
Will is often for decisions made at the moment of speaking.
Simple, natural, human.
And don't worry, we're going to explore this slowly with more examples.
Yes, and by the end of this episode, you won't just understand a rule.
You'll feel it.
Not rules first, feeling first.
Yes, always feeling first, because when you feel the situation, the grammar becomes easier.
So let's make this very clear in a simple way.
We use going to when a plan already exists.
A decision made before speaking.
Something you already thought about, even for a few minutes. For example, I'm going to start exercising next week.
That means the idea is already in your mind.
Maybe you even bought new shoes.
Or you watch some workout videos on YouTube.
Or you told your friend about your plan.
Exactly. The decision is not new. It's already there.
Now compare that with will.
We use will for instant decisions.
Decisions made at the moment of speaking.
Like when the phone suddenly rings.
And you say, I'll answer it.
You didn't plan that 5 minutes ago.
You didn't prepare for it.
It just happened and you reacted.
That's why will feels natural there.
Let's take another example.
Okay.
You're sitting at home. Your friend says, I'm thirsty.
And you reply, I'll get you some water.
That's not a plan you made in the morning.
You didn't write it in your diary.
It's a spontaneous decision.
And that's why will sounds right.
Now let's talk about promises.
Ah, yes, very important.
When we promise something, we usually use will.
For example, I'll help you tomorrow. I won't forget.
Promises live in will.
Because you're giving your word in that moment.
Now, predictions.
Good point.
When we predict something based on opinion, we often use will.
For example, I think it will rain today.
That's your opinion.
But if you look outside and see dark clouds,
And you hear thunder,
then you say it's going to rain.
because now you see evidence.
So again, feeling, situation, context.
Not memorizing grammar tables.
That's why we always say English is not about pressure
It's about clarity.
and practice.
Small practice every day.
Now that we understand the basic feeling of will and going to, let's talk about real life.
Because that's where learners usually get confused.
Yes, especially when they start thinking too much.
They pause,
They translate in their head.
and suddenly the conversation feels heavy.
Exactly. But English should not feel heavy.
It should feel like talking about your day,
Your plans.
your thoughts.
Let's imagine a very normal situation.
Okay,
You're at home in the evening. You're sitting on your sofa, scrolling on your phone.
relaxed, maybe a little sleepy.
And suddenly you remember, tomorrow is Monday.
That feeling alone changes everything.
It really does.
Now, in that moment, you say,
I'm going to wake up early tomorrow.
because you already know it.
You already accept it. Your mind prepared for it.
Yes, that's a future plan already living in your head.
Now imagine a slightly different moment.
Okay.
Your phone rings. It's your friend.
They say, can you help me tomorrow morning?
And without planning, without thinking too much, you reply, okay, I'll help you.
That answer came from the moment.
Not from a plan.
And that's why will sounds natural there.
Do you see the difference now?
One lives in your mind before you speak.
The other is born while you are speaking.
That's the feeling.
And once you feel it,
You stop being afraid.
this is where many learners struggle.
Yes, because both sentences talk about the future.
But the feeling behind them is different.
Let's talk about another common situation. Work.
Ah, yes. Work conversations confuse people a lot.
Imagine your manager asks you in the morning, what are you doing this afternoon?
And you already know your schedule.
You look at your calendar and say, I'm going to attend a meeting at 3 p.m.
Because it's planned.
It's written.
It's decided.
Now imagine something changes.
The meeting gets canceled.
Your manager looks at you and says, okay, what will you do now?
And you answer, I think I'll finish my report.
See the difference?
One was fixed.
The other was decided in the moment.
And this happens every single day in real life.
In offices,
In homes.
in shops.
In conversations with friends.
Let's talk about offers. This is another big area.
Very important.
Imagine your friend looks tired.
You notice it immediately.
You didn't plan anything.
You just feel it.
And you say, I'll make you some tea.
That sentence feels warm.
Because will is very natural for offers.
It sounds caring.
It sounds immediate.
Now let's flip the situation.
Okay,
You invited your friend earlier.
you bought snacks.
You prepared everything.
And when they arrive, you say, I'm going to make tea for you.
Both sentences are correct.
But the situation changes the choice.
That's why memorizing rules alone never works.
Learners need to see the situation.
Feel the moment. Now, let's talk about mistakes. because mistakes are part of learning. Yes, and many learners fear them too much.
Some learners think, if I choose the wrong one, people will judge me.
But that's not real life.
In real life, people understand your meaning.
They don't stop the conversation to correct your grammar.
They focus on communication.
So if you say, I will go to the gym tomorrow,
When you actually planned it earlier,
it's not wrong in communication,
it may not be perfect grammar style,
but it's understandable.
and confidence matters more than perfection.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about predictions again, because this is another confusing area.
Yes, predictions depend on evidence or opinion.
Imagine you look outside.
The sky is dark.
The clouds are heavy.
You can almost feel rain in the air
You say, it's going to rain.
because you see evidence.
Now, imagine a different moment.
You're just talking casually.
No clouds.
No signs.
You say, I think it will rain later.
That's your opinion.
Not evidence.
So again, feeling, situation, context.
Let's bring this closer to daily life.
Yes, because learners want English for real conversations.
Imagine you're serious about improving your English.
You say to yourself, I'm going to practice English every day.
That's a plan.
But one day you feel lazy.
You're tired.
You don't feel motivated.
And you say, okay, I'll practice for just 5 minutes.
That decision happened in the moment.
Both sentences are honest,
Both are real.
and both use the future differently.
This is how English lives in real life.
Now that we've talked about plans, decisions, offers, and predictions,
Let's look at the mistakes learners make again and again with will and going to.
because understanding the idea is one thing.
But using it while speaking is a different story.
Exactly. Many learners freeze in the middle of a sentence.
They stop,
They think too much.
and the conversation loses its rhythm.
Let's talk about the first common mistake, using will for everything.
I hear this a lot.
Learners say, I will go to the market tomorrow. I will meet my friend later. I will study English tonight.
And grammatically, these sentences are not completely wrong,
But they sound slightly mechanical
slightly distant.
because many of those are already planned.
So in natural conversation, native speakers often say, I'm going to go to the market tomorrow. I'm going to meet my friend later. I'm going to study English tonight.
It feels softer,
More natural.
more connected to real life.
But here's something important.
Very important.
Don't panic about this.
Don't stop speaking just to find the perfect form,
Fluency grows from flow.
not from fear.
And technically, people understand them.
Yes, that's true.
But it doesn't always sound natural.
Why?
Because in most of these cases, the plan already exists. The decision was made earlier.
So, going to fits better in many daily situations.
For example, I'm going to meet my friend this evening.
That sounds relaxed,
Natural.
like real life.
The problem is, learners sometimes think will sounds more advanced.
Yes, they feel will is stronger English.
But native speakers don't think like that.
They think in situations, not rules.
Now, let's talk about the second common mistake, using going to for sudden decisions.
Ah, yes, this one can create awkward moments.
Imagine someone drops their phone, you see it fall, and you say, I'm going to help you.
It sounds strange, doesn't it?
Yes, the moment already passed.
The decision is instant.
So will feels more human there. I'll help you. Quick, natural.
The language matches the moment perfectly.
Now let's talk about emotions.
Very true. Emotions can change grammar choices too.
Imagine you're angry. You just had an argument.
And you say, I'll never talk to him again.
That sentence comes from emotion, not planning.
Exactly. That's why will is used.
Now imagine a calmer situation.
You've thought about it for days.
You say, I'm going to change my job.
That sounds thoughtful.
Prepared.
So emotions matter. Tone matters. Context matters.
Another common mistake is overthinking while speaking.
Yes, learners stop enjoying the conversation.
They ask themselves, is this will or going to? What is correct? What is the rule?
But real conversations don't wait.
People speak first, they think later.
And that's okay. That's how fluency grows.
Let's give a simple tip to our listeners.
A very important one.
If the plan already lives in your head, use going to.
If the decision is born in the moment, use will.
Don't search for perfection.
Search for connection.
Now, let's practice with a small story.
Yes, stories help memory.
Imagine it's Sunday evening. You're sitting at home. You look at your calendar and say, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow.
Now, suddenly, your phone rings. Your friend says, I need help right now.
And you reply, okay, I'll come.
2 futures, 2 feelings, 1 conversation. That's real English.
Let's also talk about confidence.
Because grammar alone doesn't build confidence.
Confidence comes from speaking
From making small mistakes.
and continuing anyway.
So if you ever say the wrong one,
Don't stop.
don't apologize too much.
Just keep going.
Fluency is movement, not perfection.
Now, we'll bring everything together, longer conversations, daily life examples, and clear habits you can use from today.
Yes, knowledge without use stays stuck in the head.
And English needs to come out of the mouth,
Naturally,
calmly.
without fear.
Let's start with daily morning situations.
Good idea.
You wake up, you look outside, dark clouds everywhere.
You say, it's going to rain today.
Why?
Because you see evidence. You're not guessing randomly.
Now your phone buzzes. Your friend messages, I forgot my umbrella.
And you reply, don't worry, I'll bring one for you.
That decision happens in the moment. No planning, just kindness.
This is how grammar follows life, not the other way around.
Now let's talk about work and study situations. Very important for beginners.
Imagine you're talking to your colleague.
You already decided last night.
You say, I'm going to finish this report today.
Clear plan.
But suddenly, your boss walks in.
She says, we need help with this file right now.
And you reply, I'll help you.
Quick decision, natural English.
Now let's talk about emotional future statements.
These are powerful.
Someone hurts you and you say, I'll never forget this.
Strong emotion, not a calm plan.
That's why will fits.
But later, when you're calm, you might say, I'm going to focus on myself.
Now that sounds mature, thoughtful, planned.
English reflects your emotional state.
That's why memorizing rules alone doesn't work.
You must feel the sentence.
Now, let's help our listeners build a habit.
A simple daily habit.
Every night, ask yourself 2 questions.
First, what am I already planning for tomorrow? Use going to.
Second, what might happen suddenly? Use will.
Say the sentences out loud.
Even if you're alone, especially if you're alone.
Your brain needs practice, not pressure.
Now, let's do a longer mini conversation.
Yes, this will help your flow.
Imagine 2 friends talking in the evening.
One says, what are your plans for the weekend?
The other replies, I'm going to visit my parents.
Then suddenly the phone rings.
A friend says, we need help moving tomorrow.
And you respond, okay, I'll come after lunch.
2 futures in 1 conversation.
No confusion.
Just context,
And that's the secret word today, context.
not grammar fear.
Before we finish, let's talk about confidence one last time.
Yes, this matters.
If you mix will and going to, sometimes it's okay. People still understand you.
Communication comes first,
Perfection comes later.
and sometimes never.
And that's perfectly fine.
Because real English is flexible, alive, human.
So remember,
Plans, going to.
instant decisions will.
Evidence, going to.
Promises, offers, emotions will.
That's enough to start speaking today.
Not tomorrow, not next week.
Today.
And if this podcast helped you feel even a little more confident,
Please support us.
subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and share it with someone who's learning English like you.
Your support helps us create more real, simple, human English conversations.
We are not here to teach perfect English.
We're here to help you use English with confidence, clarity, and courage.
See you in the next episode.
Until then, keep speaking.
Bye, everyone.